Danny, welcome to Locked In, man. I think you might be our most hyped up episode among all of the staff here at Lake Cumberland Recovery.
All right.
They're like, his story is crazy. You have to have him on. I think when I asked Jessica, who is ducking coming on the podcast so far, but she'll be later in the day, about who to interview, you were the top of the list.
Well,
it's a lot of pressure, right?
It is.
How do you feel about that?
I hope I can live up to it.
Yeah. We're hyping up this episode from the get, so you got big shoes to fill, but I'm sure you're spoken of very highly here, which is awesome. Did you grow up in Kentucky?
A little bit. My dad was in the military, so we moved around a lot, but Fort Knox is where I went to like elementary school and started middle school. And then I started bouncing around a lot from my aunt to my granny to my mom. Just didn't like the structure in the military, It was a little bit more than what I wanted.
I bet. Yeah. Were your parents together or are they separated later on?
Well, it's actually my stepdad. I never knew my real dad, but I claim him as my real father because I knew him. That's the only dad I ever knew.
Did you ever find out who your...
I might have found out his name when I was younger, but nothing ever materialized.
And what about siblings? Did you have?
I got two half sisters, but they're, like I said, they're my sisters.
Mm-hmm.
One of them's actually a police officer in Alabama.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Wow, that's a whole different life.
Yeah. She's actually lieutenant now. She just got promoted. She's been a cop for over 20 years.
Are you guys close?
Yeah, pretty much.
What does she think about the path you went down?
She's just my sister, man. She loves me.
Yeah, I mean that's the right answer.
Yeah.
That's good to hear that. It's always
she don't really hold nothing against me. She knows how I am and how I always was, but
yeah,
she just wanted better for me.
Well, I wonder if it helps also make her job or do her job better. Knowing you and being a part of your life.
I'd say it probably does. I'd say she's a lot easier on criminals than most cops.
Yeah, I mean, we can learn a lot from the people. So many people are affected by the criminal justice system,
right.
And to have like a sibling that has been in prison or involved in the process, it gives you a perspective.
Oh.
So when you guys were in, elementary school in Kentucky and stuff, what was it like being an outsider in this area?
Well, I really wasn't an outsider, man, because, when I come back to living with my granny here in Kentucky, man, I just fell right in, just one of the guys.
Was it hard switching around? Like, I know military families.
I got used to it, man. It was pretty much normal to me to pack up and move and be somewhere new, I made friends pretty easy almost anywhere I went.
You don't think it affected your life and upbringing at all in a negative way?
I don't think so, not really. Mm-hmm. I think it just made me more outgoing, easy to get along with. And tried to blend in everywhere I went.
Yeah. High school, did you do high school in Kentucky?
I did. I didn't do too good in high school, man. That's when I really started getting in a lot of trouble, started, smoking weed and drinking a little bit and just being really rebellious.
What was it that you think was that trigger in high school?
I don't know, man. Probably not living at home with my mom was probably a big deal. She just wanted me to be happy, and I just didn't want to listen. So, she let me do what I wanted and move where I wanted. And I think that really, I probably held some resentment for that, because my sisters were there and it just, I don't know. You get it?
Yeah,
It's kind of weird.
Do you wish looking back on it now, wish you had a little bit more structure and strictness?
Oh, well, I wish I would have probably stayed home, where I belong. But like I said, my mom wanted me to be happy, so she let me do whatever I wanted.
Now, a lot of the guests I talk to, they say that they started out smoking weed, but when you compare that to now, like that's just a casual thing.
That's just a casual thing.
Yeah, but do you think back then it was like a stepping stone to lead into worse?
Oh, yeah, definitely. Because when I found crystal meth, then my whole life changed. Yeah.
And that was in high school that you discovered it?
Well, I think I'd already quit high school probably and was doing drywall. Started doing drywall to about 18 probably, somewhere 17, 18 years old. And one of the guys I worked with, he was an old biker dude, and they had some crystal, and I tried it, man, and I knew right then, hey, that was my thing.
What was it about the crystal that
Just, man, it made me focused, man. Got me working, and I could just work, and
you could
used it
work
as a
while
tool.
high?
Yeah, man.
Really?
Yeah, it was good stuff back then on them days.
It's not like that now, is
no,
it?
no, it ain't like that no more.
So it kept you. It was like what, like one of those like ADHD type drugs?
I think probably, yeah.
Interesting. I've never heard this before.
Yeah, it focused me, man. I was normal on it. I really was.
Now, how are you getting it? Were you making it yourself?
Not then. Later on, I learned how to make it. But in the beginning, it was always hard to get back then. This is, I don't know what year that was. It was probably late 80s, early 90s. It was pretty hard to get. You had to know some people that knew some people that knew some people.
So it was pretty rare.
It was kind of rare back then, yeah.
And it's nothing like what like you were just saying it is now.
No.
And how accessible it is.
Right. Yeah.
So since it was so rare, what was the cost of it?
I mean, it was, like 50 a half gram, 100 a gram. Just like same price as cocaine back then, I guess.
Which is, I mean, looking now, that's pretty expensive when you could buy weed for a half gram is what, like
I don't even know,
bucks.
man. I quit smoking weed after I ran into meth. I never really did like the weed too much. It made me too paranoid.
Now, since this meth was so good, was there physical effects of that? Like, like your skin irritations, face?
I never had none of that, man. I mean, I'm old now, but I've lost a lot of teeth from it, but I don't think it had the effects like skin crawling and picking myself to death. Like I have seen people do that,
And you were smoking out of a pipe?
Oh yeah.
Would they inject it back then?
That was kind of taboo when I was growing up, man. People didn't really do that. They shied away from needles. The people I was around didn't really.
I wonder when that changed, like how the whole needle thing
that's
came
crazy,
in.
Isn't it? Because nowadays, man, everybody wants to do that. They think it's the only way to do it.
I think it's kind of gross, like
Yeah,
the whole needle thing. The only needles I'm putting in me are tattoos.
Right on.
And probably same to you.
Right on. I did try the needle before, but it wasn't my cup of tea, man. Just the crowd I was hanging around with. I tried it once or twice. It wasn't me. I like to smoke.
Before you started drugs, did you have like aspirations? Did you have a mindset of what you wanted to be?
Man, really, I don't think I ever really thought that far ahead, man. Ended up in Germany for a little while with my folks when I was like 16. And, I could drink over there, and I started drinking pretty heavy and smoking hash because you couldn't find no pot over there then. And I think that's really when my life really changed, and I just started drinking and hitchhiking all over Europe and having a blast.
That must have been an experience.
That was great, man. That was probably the greatest time of my life, man, for real.
Now, back then, was it safe to do that, to the hitchhiking and the bouncing around?
I mean, and I couldn't speak German back then, and man, German people would pick me up. I couldn't even communicate with them. They'd take me down to wherever they were going and drop me out. We'd hang out in Hamburg, Germany, panhandling, trying to get money to get hash. It was crazy, man.
Yeah, how would you support yourself? Just panhandling?
Just panhandling and hanging out.
And you'd actually make money from it?
Oh, yeah, man. Me and a couple other guys could go down in Hamburg, man, in a hour or two, get 40 or 50 marks a piece. Go see the Turkish people and get us some hash and just then drink the rest of the day.
And would you spend any money on food, too? I mean, you had to live.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. But, I mean, I still lived at home with my folks, man.
Okay.
Yeah.
What a lifestyle.
That was pretty crazy, man.
And your stepdad.
That was in 1988. I think we came back from Germany in 88 around Thanksgiving that year.
And your stepdad was with you.
Yeah.
He was in the military. Yeah. Wasn't he strict at all?
Oh yeah, and he drank all the time, and he drank every day. But he was a good dude, man.
Do you think you got that drinking tendency from him?
I don't know, man. Probably where I might have picked it up at,
Yeah. Have you ever talked to him and sat down with him about where his...
Well, he passed away while I was in jail, and in the 90s, man. He got cancer, prostate cancer, and me and him didn't really see eye to eye. He really disappointed in me, man. Because I actually tried to go in the Army. Well, I went in the National Guard, and I got kicked out real quick for going AWOL, and that pretty much really probably disappointed him big time.
Yeah.
And he just told me before he died, man, don't take advantage of my mama,
Why did you go AWOL? Why go through the process of getting in just to
And
go
you
missing?
know, the thing about it is I really enjoyed the Army, man. It was great and it was really good for me. But there was a guy from Texas, man. He wanted to leave, and he offered me some money to get him off base. And I went to basic training at Fort Knox, and I knew the base like the back of my hand, man. I grew up there, and so I told him I'd help him get off base. But I got him off base to the bus station, man, and it was too late to go back, man. I missed formation, so I just left with him. We ended up down in Nashville getting high on coke. And
What would have happened if you went back and
we ended up going back, and they put us in the stockade for 30 days and give us a dishonorable.
Oh, you were in the actual military prison.
Yeah.
Holy cow.
RCF at Fort Knox, Kentucky. Did 30 days there.
What was that like compared to like a county jail that I'm sure you've encountered?
I mean, you're in the military still, you know, and it's kind of federal. Like, you know, we've been to federal prison, but everybody's in uniforms there, and you got to work. You got to, like, I think I worked at the recycle center while I was there. It's just a job, man. You get paid just like normal.
But you're still detained technically.
You're detained.
What are your like fellow soldiers saying to you? Are they like disgusted by you for
Well,
doing
you know,
that, or?
man, I was in basic training. I went AWOL, and actually I didn't know this, but it was during wartime. They could have actually given me a firing squad.
For that?
Yeah.
You could have got killed for that?
Yeah, it's on the books, but they wasn't pushing nothing like that.
So then they just ended up kicking you out.
Yeah.
So once you got kicked out, what was your headspace at?
Man, it was crazy, man, because that guy that I'd went AWOL with, we ended up in Atlanta, Georgia. Our planes were going separate ways. I was going to Alabama back to my folks, and he was going home to Texas. So we ended up going downtown and smoking all our money up in crack. Then I just went on home the next morning, man.
Did you stay sober in the military during basic?
No. I was doing coke, smoking weed,
I mean,
whatever.
back then, did they even have drug tests or?
Oh yeah. Yeah, they drug tested us. That was another thing that they hit us with on our discharge was the being dirty on cocaine.
So either way, whether you went AWOL or not, you were done.
I was done. Yeah.
You ever reflect back on if you
Man,
stayed?
I wish I'd have stayed for real. That would have been a real good life, man. Probably would have
Your whole life would be
been
different.
way different. Yeah.
I mean, granted, you ended up where you're supposed to now.
Right.
But I mean, all those years of pain and suffering in between, man.
Yeah.
I think a lot of people think about like that, you know, the pre-mistake that they make and how it all kind of unwinds and unravels.
It's something to think about, but I mean, what can you do now, right?
Yeah. So you make it back to after basic. What happens
Yeah,
next?
well, and then my folks tell me, you know, you can't stay here, man. You got to get a job. And I just ended up, I'd saved up a little bit of money that I'd sent home, and I think I had like $500 or something. I bought me an old cheap car, man, and headed back to Nashville to my cousins down there that I had.
And this is early 90s now?
Yeah, something like that. I'm not too good on years, man. It
Rough
all
estimate.
fades. Yeah, but it all fades.
I'm not asking for the day, month.
Yeah, but yeah, something like that, man. I hung out there for a little while, homeless and living in sleeping in couches or whatever, man. Just really having a rough time.
What was Nashville like back then?
It was pretty cool, man. I lived in a real rich part of Nashville called Bellevue. It's pretty uppity, man. And I worked at Applebee's while I was there.
They had Applebee's back then?
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
And that's how I lived, man, because I worked there and that's how I ate,
Yeah.
and spent all my money on drugs.
Oh, they'd give you free food too?
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, I mean, I don't know if they give it to you, but we'd take it.
Yeah. A lot of these restaurants are kind of doing away with they'll make their employees pay 50% or 60%, which I get like the cost of the food, but I don't know. That's a whole nother rabbit hole.
Yeah.
So in Nashville, where do you go after that?
Let's see. I think I end up in Clarksville, Tennessee at an aunt and uncle's house maybe for a little while. They helped me get me my driver's license and a motorcycle, and so I stayed there until I burnt that bridge, That's how we do, man, as addicts or whatever. We just keep plowing through, right?
And how old are you at this time? Like early 20s by now?
Probably early 20s,
Okay.
something like that.
And your friends, were they all in college at this point? Was college a big thing back then?
Man, like I moved around so much, I really didn't really consider having many friends, just people that I knew.
Yeah, kind of like, did you feel like you were a loner?
A lot, yeah.
That sucks. Do you wish you had like that group of friends that you were with?
Well, I do now. I mean, from being around here so long,
But back then,
I just was running wild, man. Just seeing the world, really.
Now, during this like running wild phase, were you having a lot of encounters with police at all, or did you stay kind of under the radar?
Well, for a little while. After I got out of the military there, that's when I started getting in trouble with the law a lot. I got into some trouble in Alabama and ended up in prison down there. Broke into a grocery store. We went in through them big ceiling fans that they got. And we stole all the meat and beer and cigarettes. And the guy that I did that with, he got a DUI or something. And just told everything, man. And I had all that stuff in my apartment, so the cops came and got me. And that was pretty bad. We'd been breaking in a bunch of storage buildings too, and that didn't.
Wait, they caught you red-handed with the deli meats and everything, and the
pretty much, man. Well, mostly beer and cigarettes, you know.
So you go through the fan on the roof.
Yeah. Went through the ceiling.
Break in, and then what do you leave through the front door?
Yeah. Or the back door, maybe.
No alarms or anything back then? Wow.
Little small town, Ozark in Alabama.
How much groceries do you think you got?
Man, that's been so long ago, I don't even know, man. But we took everything we could haul in a car, you know, for real.
So then he gets pulled over with a DUI and rats you out for an unrelated.
Unrelated. And so I ended up getting a pretty sweet little deal, man. It was the first time I'd ever been in any real trouble. I got a 3-year sentence. They gave me a split sentence under the Useful Offender Act. I did 6 months in prison in Alabama, which was pretty rough, man. It was in prisons down there.
You actually did prison time for this?
Actually did prison time. Went to state
as
prison.
A first-time offender.
Yeah.
Did the military thing play any part in this or no?
No, no. But I did get the Useful Offender Act, and when I turned 21, them felonies fell off my record. That's the only ones I've ever got rid of.
Now, they say those Alabama prisons
They're tough, man. They're tough, dude, for real. It ain't no joke. It's serious. That's serious.
Now, back then, were they doing the things where it's like in the desert and they do the pop-up tents and they have
No.
Okay.
I was actually at a brand new facility in Clio, Alabama called Easterling Correctional Facility. I went through Kilby. It's their intake in Montgomery, and then they sent me to Easterling. And I did my 6 months there, man.
And what was that like?
It was different, man.
Why do you think different?
Well, I mean, being a young white guy, and it's just tough, man. I was fighting all the time.
Now, I'm sure the population is pretty white out there in Alabama.
No,
it's not.
No.
In certain areas, it is.
I mean, you got areas, yeah, but it's mostly black people, man.
And they took a not so strong liking to you?
In the beginning, yeah, but once they seen I had some fight to me, man, they didn't much bother me anymore.
Now the sheriffs and whatnot that run these facilities, they're pretty brutal.
Yeah, and the sheriffs actually run the jails down there, you know.
Yeah.
So
it's a whole different experience when you have a sheriff running because they have so much power and freedom. Mm-hmm. I mean, that's how like the influencers are able to get into these facilities because they're the ones running it and they have the say. You don't have to like go to your governor and say, hey, can I have access to this or that?
Yeah, it's
a whole different ball game.
It is a different ball game.
What was the food situation like in these?
The food didn't seem too bad back then, man. I mean, jail, you know how jail is, but it was better than most little old county jail in Alabama.
What would you say is the biggest comparison between that, Alabama jail and the federal system that you would later experience?
They're both pretty violent, man. So I'd say they're pretty on par. They're about the same.
Really? You would say that is the same as the feds?
Yeah. I mean, except the feds pay you. They don't pay you in Alabama. You get $1 a month.
That's like Texas, right?
Yeah.
And I think, does Kentucky pay?
Yeah, you can make money in Kentucky. I can't remember. I think it's like when I was in state prison here in Kentucky, I think I made $1.25 a day or something.
Isn't it wild that they can literally have, like in Texas, they'll have you on the farms and whatnot for free?
In Alabama too, man. They had chain gang down there.
That's so wild.
It is crazy.
And did you do that while you were at the county?
Actually didn't. I got lucky. I didn't have to do that.
Okay, so you get out of Alabama after a few months.
And then I come to Kentucky and catch some more felonies and then end up in prison here.
Were you back on drugs when you got out of Alabama?
I never got off drugs then, man. That was until I get out of the feds, I'm on drugs.
Were they easily accessible in the county or?
Drugs are pretty hard in some county jails and some are pretty easy, man. It's just according on where you're at. And it's always going to be expensive no matter what.
Do you think if you had gotten clean in Alabama, you wouldn't have gotten in trouble in Kentucky?
I don't know, man. I don't know. It's hard to say.
Yeah, I guess you never really know.
Never know.
So now you're in Kentucky at this point.
Yeah, I got a Class D felony, so that's a little different. You don't really go to prison. You go to do it in a county jail. So I started out in Pulaski County, and then they shipped me to Laurel County, and I did most of my. I can't remember how much time I was doing. I think only a 2-year sentence, but I did it in like 14 months or something.
Isn't Pulaski County the famous one that's in like 60 days in? And
I don't know.
Is that, or
I think
is that a different Pulaski County?
I think that might be in like in Arkansas or something.
Is there a Pulaski County in Arkansas?
I think there is.
Oh, there's 2 Pulaski counties. Yeah. Okay, that makes sense. Interesting. So what were those charges for?
Burglary, assault, just really minor stuff for real that they blew up.
So you were building up a pretty hefty rap sheet.
I'm getting there. I'm learning.
You're learning. You're getting experience.
Yeah.
So I'm sure later on that didn't help you in the least bit.
No, it gets worse.
Okay, so walk us through it. What happens next?
I get out of jail. Excuse me. I've been fighting COVID, man. It's still lingering. But let's see. I think I might be learning how to make methamphetamines now, getting in with some people that know how to make it or whatever, and I'm starting to learn. I don't learn full-fledged yet, but I'm getting some basics down and hanging around people that know how. And when I finally learn how, that's when my life really changes, because it just, that's all you do after you learn how to do that, man. It's every day, you just every day.
Yeah, Mickle said you're the real Walter White.
No,
that's what he says.
No, I mean, I used to take a lot of pride in what I did, but it was just stupid stuff, man. It just ruined my life, man. It really did.
Was there something about the process of actually cooking it that made it different? That you
a
like
lot
fell
of
in
people
love
that, man, but I always hated it, man, because that's where I felt like I was going to get hit at. When you start smoking it off or whatever, and it starts forming into them jars, man, it just terrified me, man, because I always felt like, hey, they're here, they're fixing to kick my door in,
Now, isn't it dangerous to kick down a meth lab?
I mean, I've had a couple accidents, but the worst thing ever happened to me, I caught my hands on fire one time, but I mean, it can be dangerous.
Well, you got to tell us that story now.
Well, I used a red phosphorus iodine reduction, and I had to make my own red phosphorus. And doing that, you strip matches down just to the strike pad, and you put it in rubbing alcohol or acetone, and you shake it up, and then you'll pour it in like a Pyrex or whatever, and let it settle, and then you'll pour some off. And if you're using rubbing alcohol, man, you can set it on fire and let it burn that alcohol off and kind of dry your red phosphorus. And I'd always try to hurry it, and I'd blow it out or whatever. And I was doing my pan side to side, and it just spilled on my hands, and I had rubbing alcohol on my hands, and it caught on fire, man. It was pretty tough.
How did you put them out?
Well, I threw that pan. I was over a sink, and I threw the pan, and it caught my curtains on fire, and my hands were on fire, and my cousin was there, and he didn't panic, and he helped me get them out.
And the burns, how bad were they afterwards?
It was pretty bad, man. It really, for a few days, man, I had like socks and Vaseline on my hands for a few days, man, because it was pretty bad.
Now, don't some, I know it's depicted in TV shows, but they'll wear like the rubber gloves when they're cooking. You guys didn't think of that?
I didn't, man. We were just old country boys, man, making dope.
Now, are there different ways, or how many different ways are there to cook dope?
Well, I couldn't tell you how many. I mean, I know a couple. You can use anhydrous ammonia and lithium batteries, or you can use red phosphorus and iodine, or you can use that new shake and bake method, or you can even make your own anhydrous. There's several ways.
How important is the chemistry aspect of it, like measuring portions?
Man, I mean, I think a monkey could do it for real. Just mix stuff together, and it's going to come out.
And that first batch, like when you perfected your batch.
Oh man, I thought I was the man, man, for real.
How do you know when you have that perfect batch?
When you try it.
So do you try it when you were first starting? Were you trying every batch?
Oh yeah, most definitely. I'm the first one, man.
So what's the difference between a bad batch and a good batch?
Well,
like, do you have something you can relate it to give people that aren't, meth cookers?
To me, what I thought made it good was how you would melt it down and how it would crystallize back. If it was pretty clear and cracked right back, I thought it was good. If it didn't, then it'd start over.
So once you started to learn how to cook meth, could you spot bad meth like out when you were, buying from people?
Well, I mean, when you start making it, man, you really don't buy off nobody else.
So were you guys, when you were making it, were you just making to use or were you making to sell?
Well, we'd make enough to sell to make a new batch, just trying to stay high.
And what's the cost go at the breakdown on a batch?
Man, it could be anything. I mean, you could take $100 and make a batch if you wanted to, and that's just whatever you had, man.
You guys really had a redneck like type
for
operation
sure.
going.
Yeah.
Did you watch Mickle Hampton's episode?
I did, actually.
Yeah, I called him Redneck Walter White.
Yeah.
I think it's fascinating, like the whole, because I don't come from that, area.
It's just, man, that stuff is just so bad, man. It's just ruins people's lives, man, and it just takes everything from you, and that's all you do. You're consumed by it.
Now, what about the dangers of cooking meth? Like if you, if you get the chemistry wrong, what happens?
I mean, I guess it just flop. I don't know, man.
So it's not going to blow up, or?
I mean, I guess it could. I mean, actually,
You guys are just running wild.
Running wild, man.
So how long did this go on for?
For many years, man, many years until I got my neck broke.
And this is when it comes to the federal case?
Not yet. Not yet. That's what gives me my street cred enough to go fed.
Okay, so tell us about the neck.
Well, I'm at home. My wife and children are gone. I'm getting ready to get everything together to go in the woods and make a substantial batch. This time, I'd been saving up a lot of stuff, trying to do a big one. And I waited till everybody was gone, and some dude shows up at my house with a motorcycle. He can't get it started, and he's just wanting to get high. I'm trying to get rid of him. Finally, I told him, man, here, help me peel these batteries. And while we're doing that, man, 2 county sheriffs roll up in the yard. And I told him, man, here, let's put this stuff up, man. Cops are here. And he immediately runs to my back of the trailer I was living in and jumps out a window. And I met the cops at the door trying to keep them out because I know I'm hit, man. And they're wanting to check on the welfare of my kids. I'm telling them they're not coming in without a warrant. And while I'm talking to that cop over the radio, dispatch had called saying that somebody had fled the scene out a bedroom window, and when that cop heard that, he just busted in past me. And that guy had left a gun laying on my counter. And that cop had known me. He knew I was a convicted felon, and he said, all right, man, it's over, buddy. You're going to jail. And I said, no, sir, I'm not. And he got one hand in a handcuff, and I tried to just flee, and it didn't work out. He wheeled me around, slammed me down, and he beat the crap out of me, man, broke my neck, paralyzed me from my neck down.
Was it both officers? Or
No, just the one. Just the one. The other one was chasing that other guy.
And how did they even know that someone was fleeing out the back?
One of my neighbors had called in, and because they hated me, man. We had traffic all the time there at that spot, and they just was trying to get rid of me. And when they seen the cops there and they seen him go out that window, they immediately called 911.
Did they know you were like the trap house, the meth lab?
Definitely knew that.
Holy cow. So the cop slams you down, breaks your neck.
Yeah.
What is that like going through that?
Man, that was crazy, man. It was like a big lightning flash. It went off in my head or something, man, and just like electric had went through my body or something, and I knew immediately, man, something was bad wrong, And I was having trouble breathing, and I was trying to tell him, man, I think you broke my neck, and he didn't want to hear that.
What was he saying to you while this was going on?
I don't even really remember, man. I was just in a panic.
And when your neck breaks, are you just laying there flat? You can't move?
I felt like I was actually folded in half is what I felt like, man, for real.
Yeah, and you
I
can't get
knew
up.
immediately he had broke my neck, though.
Now, were you fighting him at all? Were you?
I wasn't really fighting him, man. I was just trying to get away because I knew I was in a lot of trouble.
Were there other alternatives he could have used despite doing what he did?
Yeah, probably. I mean, he was a little excessive.
Did he have like a taser on him or they didn't have that back then?
I don't even know. He's a pretty big old cornbread-fed country sheriff, man.
Yeah, younger guy or older?
He was about my age, in his 30s probably at that time.
And do you think they knew who you were?
Oh, most definitely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, I know the other guy that said about the gun. He knew that. Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, wow. So what happens after your neck breaks? Do they call an ambulance? Or?
Finally, I convinced them something's wrong with me, and they called an ambulance, and EMTs come got me, and they didn't really, I'm at a active meth lab, man. They think it's all BS, for real. And I felt like they wasn't giving me no attention like I deserved. But they got me to the emergency room, and excuse me, and a doctor came in there, man, and they were actually fixing to release me to the sheriff's department, man, and send me to jail. And a doctor came in there and said, man, I'm going to have a specialist look at this guy because something is wrong with him. And they said, you can't take him right now. So had a specialist look at me, man, and see 5, 6, and 7 was broke in my neck. And they did a cervical bone fusion, took out part of my hip, made me 3 new vertebrae, and hooked me up with a steel plate and some metal screws and a new neck bone.
And I'm sure they still had you handcuffed to the bed and all.
No, actually they didn't.
Wow.
No, after that happened, one of the cops, I knew them all, and they come up there and he said, look, Danny, he said, when you get out of here, man, just come on up here and turn yourself in, and don't make this harder on yourself than what it needs to be.
Wow.
But when they found out they broke my neck, man, mysteriously, all them charges was never talked about until I sued them.
So they dropped all the charges right then and there?
Until I got me a lawyer and sued them.
Did any attorneys like that knew about it come right away, like the personal injury attorneys?
Well, they didn't. A friend of mine hooked me up with some lawyers in Laurel County that jumped right on it, man. They were all in.
Wow.
Yeah, but they wanted 50% of whatever we got.
Like a contingency.
Yeah.
But you didn't have to pay them. They just took the cut.
Yeah.
So do you end up winning a lawsuit against the cops?
Well, I didn't really win. We settled. I don't even know if I'm allowed to talk about that or whatever, but it wasn't much.
So after that happens, you kind of have a fresh slate, not physically, but mentally you have a fresh slate from, you have no charges against you.
Well, actually, after I sued them, man, when they got that, it went to Pulaski County Circuit Court first. Yeah. And when that hit the circuit court, then they brought manufacturing charges against me, manufacturing while in possession of a firearm, Class A felony, 20 to life in Kentucky.
And that's a state charge. The feds didn't get involved at all?
No, feds didn't get involved yet.
So looking back on it, do you regret that you ever tried to sue them?
No, because, man, it really started the change, you know what I mean? It started, and I don't know, man. I really don't know. I thought I was going to really get paid. They broke my neck, man. They crippled me.
Do you think that if it happened now, present day, the outcome would have been different?
Way different. In this climate, oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I really would have got paid.
So was it pretty normal that police would use this type of force in your area back then?
I mean, yeah, they're pretty rough, man. But, I mean, they didn't go around just breaking people's necks,
Yeah.
But, yeah.
Do you think it was more of like those small town sheriffs that were doing this, like what happened to you?
Yeah.
Is that where it's like predominantly from? Because you don't see like the federal agents going around doing this type of stuff, or big city officers to a certain degree. I mean, it does happen.
It does happen, but it's rare,
So they hit you with all those charges. How does that end up?
Well, it ended up with them offering me a sweet little deal to plead guilty, give me 10 years, and they were going to give me probation for 5 on paper and then squash it or whatever. But, being a drug addict, man, what happens? It wasn't long after that I started that 10-year sentence.
So you messed up the probation?
Oh, most definitely.
Because of a drug violation?
Yeah, dirty.
Wow. How many drug violations did they give you?
Just the one,
All it took was one to send you in there?
Oh, yeah.
So now you're in Kentucky State Prison.
Yeah, I went to Kentucky State Reformatory, KSR.
And this is a low, medium, max?
No, it's a prison. It's one of the older prisons here in Kentucky.
Okay.
But it's kind of like a medical facility a little bit, and that I was in a wheelchair or whatever, so that's where I ended up. Now,
going into prison now, paralyzed.
Yeah, it's different.
Yeah, explain how that's different, how people are treating you.
People treat other handicapped people pretty good, man, honestly. Criminals ain't that bad of guys, man. Most of them look out for you. You get some that can be jerks or whatever, but for the most part, man, people are pretty good.
Yeah, I saw in the feds, even like the pedophiles that were handicapped got treated,
Not
pretty.
where I was at.
So there was handicapped pedophiles, or
I don't know about any handicapped
just
ones.
regular pedophiles. They weren't. Now, you being a white guy in a wheelchair, did they make assumptions?
No,
Okay.
no. I mean, people might, but they never did.
Now, how does your time differ from someone that's not handicapped? Like, are you limited to what you can do, can't do?
Well, I mean, in the beginning when I first went to Kentucky State Prison, man, I was in pretty bad shape still, man. I was still recovering, and life was pretty hard for me, man, for real. But I just kept working, man, and just like trying to get better, man.
And did they keep you on like just the bottom floors? Like,
Always.
do they have a
Yeah.
handicapped cell?
Yeah, they got handicapped cells. Well, this was an old prison, man. They had like cubicles or whatever on the bottom floor and bottom bunk.
What about the medical? Were they giving you the treatment, that your medicine, everything? Do you think you got adequate care?
Most definitely not.
Do you think that made your physical ability even worse?
Yeah, not really, man. I was just in pain most of the time. So, ibuprofen, I guess, is about the best you can get in the state prison. The feds are a little different. They'll really try to curb your pain if you got a legitimate problem, but not in the state prison, they won't.
When you're handicapped, are you able to hustle and make money at all, or is it?
Well, I mean, it's just not really. I didn't really try. I didn't have to. I always had people, looking out for me, man, on the streets.
That's good. And were you using it all while you were in state prison?
I mean, if I could, whenever, if it arose, if it was around or whatever, yeah. Sure.
And out of the 10 years, how much do you have to do?
I did 24 months. I made parole first time up. Actually got lucky, got me a good parole officer when I got out, and I did it all on the streets, man.
And
the first time ever.
So parole, what's the difference between parole, right? Everyone gets confused about this, parole and then like federal supervision.
Right.
Because there's no parole
It's
anymore.
basically the same thing, man. And when you're on parole, like when I first came out, I had to report every month, go in and see my parole officer, and usually they'll give you a urine test or whatever, but I got lucky, man. I wasn't getting tested too much. I guess they figured, hey, man, they done broke this guy's neck, and I had a good PO, man. He just didn't bother me much, man. As long as I wasn't getting in trouble, he didn't care. And but I kept using and doing my thing, and I just got lucky, man. Made it.
How important do you think a good parole or probation officer is to people returning to society?
Man, if you ain't got a good parole officer or probation officer, man, it could be bad for you.
Yeah, it really changes the whole outcome of your situation.
It does. It really does.
So once you completed that, you made it through that. Are you working? Do you have a job? Do you have a family, an apartment?
I've been actually married to my wife, man, for almost 30 years. We've been together.
She stuck with you through everything.
She's not no addict. She's not one of us, man. She's just a real good woman, man.
That's awesome.
And she's the greatest.
Where's she today?
She's at work. She's at work, man. She works too.
What does she do for work?
She manages a Dollar General in the town I live in.
That's so cool.
Yeah, she's a good woman.
That's awesome that she stuck with you the entire
really
time.
Is. She's something, man.
And how did you two meet?
Just happenstance. Run into her one day getting dropped off by one of my friends. She was there. And I just started aggravating her from that day on.
It's funny how life works.
It is.
So now you're kind of in the phase of rebuilding your life after you got out of that Kentucky State Prison.
Yeah.
How does that lead to a Fed case?
Well, man, when a cop breaks your neck in the criminal community, man, it gives you a little bit of credit, man. And then people just started that I normally couldn't deal with, started letting me come around, man. I started making bigger connections and meeting new people, and ended up down there in Atlanta, Georgia, some cartel guys through some other people, and started getting some weight in crystal and supplying my little area of home.
Wait, you just randomly link up with the cartel?
Well, it wasn't random. I mean, I knew some people that knew some people, man.
It's pretty random. You're a guy from this area.
Well, this chick that I knew in the town I live in now, man, she actually knew a guy down there in Atlanta, and she didn't like making them trips, so she had me make a couple trips and got me in, and then went from there.
Were you scared to meet with the cartel for the first time?
I mean, it really wasn't like that, man. It was just a regular dude, man. He was just a regular guy, and his old lady was with the cartel, and he was just a regular guy, man. Good enough guy, man. Didn't didn't have to worry about anything with him.
Now, was this a Spanish guy or a white
Yeah,
guy?
he was like part Spanish, part American.
Mm-hmm. And that first transaction, are they just giving you weight right off the riff, or are they doing like due diligence?
No, they didn't do no due diligence. Not at all. The chick that I knew, she sent me down there with her money and told me to pay the guy and get what he gave me and come on back home. And then she started fronting me stuff and got me going, and I just kept making them trips, man.
And you're out of the wheelchair by this.
Well, I mean, I struggled for a long time, man. Sometimes even when I was in the feds, I used a wheelchair a lot sometimes, but I can get around pretty good.
So transporting it back.
That's what got me. I got pulled over in Knoxville, man. Coming back one time, I had like 4 ounces in the car with me, and got pulled over with no driver's license like an idiot. Next thing I know, I'm in jail in Knoxville, Tennessee.
What? How many trips was this that you made it through?
Oh man, God, I couldn't even count.
So you made it successfully a lot.
A bunch of times, and luckily that's all. I only had 4 ounces on me because usually it was more than that,
And how much do you get paid to run a load?
Well, I wouldn't. I would say that was just mine. It wasn't
Okay.
I went down there and picked it up and brought it home.
And then it was your job to sell.
Oh yeah.
Okay, so you weren't necessarily the mule. You were more picking up your own product and selling it.
Yeah.
Now that does add. That's the risk factor with the feds because you're crossing state borders.
Well, I mean, actually, the feds didn't get me, man. It was just a highway patrol guy there in Knoxville, and they arrested me. I make bond and went back to court, and that's when the feds picked me up when I was in court.
Did they know you were working with the cartel at all? Did they know?
I
what you
don't
were
think
doing?
so, man. I think I really got lucky, for real. Looking back, because it could have been a lot worse. Really, I could have been in a conspiracy indictment or whatever, and all I got was just possession with intent to distribute more than 50 grams.
Why do you think you changed up kind of like what you used to do with, cooking it on your own and
well, because
selling
it was so much easier to go down there and get so much cheaper, man, and just make so much more. I was actually making money, and staying high all the time.
Wow. And when you were high, you were able to function well enough to do the runs, do this operation.
I couldn't function unless I was high, man. That's the only time people knew something was different if I wasn't.
And you were married still at the time?
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
What is your wife thinking about this at the time?
She just lets me do my thing, man. She don't.
Did she ever try to like knock some sense into you or did she know the full extent of what you were doing?
Oh, I don't really want to say.
Yeah. Well, it's just, it's interesting how, people are there for you and support you, but you could be doing harm as well.
Right.
So you get pulled over. Now you're in Tennessee. You get bonded out and you go to court, and the feds are waiting for you.
Yep, they were there waiting on me.
DEA or
just
FBI?
FBI.
FBI.
Yeah.
And what are they saying to you?
Well, I knew something was wrong. I was down there trying to just get me a lawyer. Actually, I was down there with the person that was in the car with me, and so I wasn't even supposed to be in court that day. So it's kind of weird. And I kept seeing these guys walking around, man. And I told my wife, I said, man, something ain't right. And a few minutes later, they walked up to me and said, "Are you Danny Owens?" And I was like, "Yeah." And they're like, "Well, we thought you'd be here." And they scooped me up, man, took me over across the street to the federal building.
Oh, man.
And I thought, hey, man, because I'd heard about the feds. I thought, man, this is it. I'm done. I didn't think I'd ever get out.
Now, I'm sure you were facing mandatory minimum drug laws.
Yeah.
And that was what, 5 years?
5.
Yeah. Okay.
But ended up with 87 months because of my points or whatever.
Because of your previous history.
Yeah, which, I guess enough time had passed with the 10 years sentence I had in Kentucky that one really didn't affect me, man. Got lucky again because that was back in 2002 when I'd caught that case. So it was over 10 years.
So now you're in the feds.
Yeah.
Yeah, and you take the plea deal, I'm guessing.
I took it to get the 2 points.
Okay. You got to get every point you can.
Got to get every point you can.
So, and where did they send you that first
So, I actually had it made, man. I got sent to FMC Lexington, man. And that's right in my backyard, man. So
that's a camp, right?
Well, it's administrative law. They got everybody there, USP, all the way down to camp. And I actually had camp points when I started out.
Okay. But you probably couldn't go to it or because you had a detainer or anything?
No, they just sent me there because, medical. I got a medically implanted device in my abdomen for Medtronics for muscle spasms. It helps me walk or whatever. And I got to go to the doctor every so many months and get it filled up. So they had me there to check me out or whatever.
You did your whole sentence at the medical center?
No.
Okay.
I screwed that off.
What are these? Describe these medical centers, like how they are.
You know, FMC Lexington's one of the oldest federal prisons around, man, besides maybe Leavenworth, I guess, and a couple more, but it's real old, man, and it's dilapidated. You know, it's the part I was in didn't even have AC, so it's just an old, rundown building, man.
What were the living situations like?
So you got open dorms, they got a few cells that got like 4-man, 6-man. You might have 2 cells connected by a bathroom and a shower. It was all right though, man. It was a pretty good spot, to be honest. But you know, it was the only federal spot I'd ever been to, and I hated it. There was a lot of chomos there, and you know, the people I ran with still, you know, they check paperwork. You know, you can't sit at the TV or whatever if you got bad paperwork. You know, it wasn't really a whole lot of politics there. There was a few little things that, you know, they went by, but
So even at the medical centers, there are politics.
yeah.
Wow, that's interesting. Because there's people from all different classifications at the medical center. Right?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I've always heard there it's like mixed because then they remove the detainer or
and
whatever.
it's pretty much the same. You know, I was a 074 Tennessee number, but I'm from Kentucky, so I ran with the 074 and 032s, the Kentucky and Tennessee or whatever.
So what did you do to mess that up that got you?
Well, I just kept getting high, man, getting dirties, got put on the hot list. And, you know, when you get on the hot list in the feds, you get drug tested every month. And I ended up, you know, they had me on medication for pain or whatever. I lost that because I just couldn't act right, man.
Yeah. So where did they send you once you got?
Well, actually, the reason I got in a fight, that's crazy, but I got in a fight with one of my friends actually over something dumb, and he blacked my eye, and we tried to hide it, but it, you know, they ended up putting a threat assessment on me, man, because I wouldn't tell them who done it. So I ended up in the SHU for 9, 10, 11 months, something like that, waiting to get shipped, and they ended up sending me to Butner.
You were actually able to fight?
Well, I mean, I'm not going to lay down.
I give you credit, man. Paralyzed and still fighting. Yeah. You're a tough cookie.
Yeah.
So they keep you in the SHU for almost 9 months.
I can't remember. It might have been 9, maybe 11. It was a long time, man. It sucked. It was terrible.
The SHU is awful.
And that was when Epstein killed himself too. So.
Oh, so this was a few years ago.
Yeah.
I think what year did Epstein kill himself?
Can't remember.
I think I was in prison when this happened too.
Like maybe 17, 16,
yeah,
something
I
like
think
that.
I think so.
18 maybe at the latest.
Wow. So everything was different in the SHU when that happened.
Oh yeah, man. I had my own cell for the whole time, man. Had radios and could order a little bit of commissary. It wasn't that bad.
Yeah, but was there AC in that one or no?
Yeah, they had AC in the SHU. Yeah, it's kind of a
That's a one
add-on.
good thing about the SHU.
I hate AC, man. I freeze.
You don't like AC?
I hate it, man.
The SHU is freezing, but it's better than
terrible.
being in the hot sun in some of these prisons. Like at Fort Dix, we had to put like sheets over the windows and stuff.
I had a buddy come to Lexington from Fort Dix, man.
Fort Dix is a whole different beast.
Yeah.
It is very interesting. So you got transferred to the new location. What was that like?
I didn't like it at first, man, but after I was there a little while, man, yeah, I ended up liking it a lot better, man. Yeah.
And how are you treated going to their new meeting?
Well,
new
it's
people?
kind of a Butner Deuce. It's a medium, but it's a kind of a medical offshoot, kind of, but not really.
Wait, were you there with Bernie Madoff?
He was down at the low,
Okay.
or the camp, maybe.
Oh, I thought he was
But
at the
it's
medical.
all the same.
Okay.
It's all the same. Butner, they got a low, they got a camp, they got a medium and a medium high.
The Butner's kind of looked at as like a sweet spot.
It is. It's not bad, man. It's not bad after you get used to it.
So they did you a favor by sending you there?
Well, I mean, they sent me so far away from home, man. I used to get visits every week when I was at Lexington. My wife comes see me every weekend, and then I didn't see her for years.
Yeah. How much good time did you lose?
All of it.
You lost all your. So what is that? What was that like? Almost 2 years. Almost?
Yeah.
Wow. So you did the whole 86 months.
And then I got a violation after I got out.
What did you get the violation for?
For dirty.
So you kept. Holy
And
cow.
I wasn't out about like 3 or 4 months, man.
And I thought the feds normally though they'll give you a couple dirties before.
They didn't give me none. They gave me one, and bam,
Wow.
go get it.
Did you do the drug program at all? Or?
I tried, but I couldn't complete it. I did the NDAP. I tried RDAP and couldn't.
It's tough.
It is tough, man.
It's very tough to
It's
make
set
it
up
through.
for you to fail, man, for real.
Yeah, and even like when you do complete it, it's even stricter on the outside.
Yeah.
I actually had someone reach out to me. You've probably heard stories of this. They got popped for the poppy seeds.
Yeah.
And she ended up suing the government and won. And the judge released her. But
Wow.
I had guys at the camp that came back. They got the year off at RDAP. We're doing their last few months at the camp. Then they came back.
They lose that year and everything, man.
Yeah, all because of a poppy seed.
Yeah.
And they don't even know. Like, if you're having an everything bagel, you're going back to prison if you do the drug program.
Yeah, man.
So wild.
Yeah.
So you do that, you get brought back in for the violation. How long did you do on that?
Man, 11, 18, I don't know. Man, it was either 11 or 18 months. I can't even remember.
And did they reset your probation?
So, yeah. But I ended up going, when I went back, they sent me to the low this time. So I got to go to a low finally.
Yeah, you were at mediums all before.
Yeah, but I went back to Butner low.
Okay. And was a low different for you?
I didn't like it. It wasn't me.
Too much freedom, or
It just, man, it wasn't. It really sucked. But they did have the iPads or the tablets in there when I went back. So I got me a tablet and just watched movies. And
yeah, what are those? I didn't experience
so, yeah,
that.
it's pretty cool, man. They
Yeah.
put movies on there. You can buy movies now.
And how much is the tablet?
I think they were $100, something like that, $100 or so.
So with the tablet, are people still buying the MP3 players?
I don't think so as much.
Okay. So the tablet, you can
You put
movies,
your movies.
like ones that are still in theaters, or
They got some new releases, but they're not like that new. But yeah.
and then games on there too.
Them games suck, man.
And can you video chat on there or no?
You couldn't yet. I think they were talking about doing that. I don't know yet.
Do you think that these tablets reduced violence and
Well, see, when I left, they were just getting them in or whatever, and they really didn't even have a whole lot of movies on there yet.
Okay.
But I don't know. I left too soon to tell. Thank God.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Thank God. The tablet thing, I know, like the states have been years ahead with tablets, with PlayStations. I feel like in the feds, there was nothing to do.
Yeah.
Like, what are you going to do all day except for read or work out? You know, they need some type of activity.
Yeah, feds suck, man. They suck, dude.
They're good and they suck at the same time.
They suck so bad.
The food's good, depending on where you are.
Yeah.
So what year do you end up getting out completely?
22, I think.
And you still...
January of 22.
You're on paper still now?
Yeah.
They won't let you off early at all?
Well, I think I'm coming up on my 2 years being out.
Mm-hmm.
I got 4 years paper. I don't know, man. They keep switching my POs. I've went through like 4 or 5 since I've been out. It's crazy.
When you switch POs, do you have to rebuild that trust that you make with the original
Man,
one?
I ain't really. The only one I had was the guy that violated me, and when I got out, I had him again, and me and him started getting along pretty good, man. So I really hated losing him. I mean, he was a little strict, but I mean, I was doing the right thing, though, so it didn't matter, you know.
It takes time to build that rapport with someone, and it's always tough.
I kind of don't like keep changing, you know.
Yeah, change is tough.
I just got a new one, just met him like Friday.
Oh. And how's that going with him? Did you like him?
Yeah, he's going to be all right, maybe.
See if he wants to come on the podcast. So when was the final decision then to get clean?
So the thing is, man, when I did all that time, man, and then I get that violation right off the bat like that, man, that was it. That's when it clicked, man. You know, look, man, I'm tired of hurting all these people that care about me, man. I'm tired of being this disappointment, man. I can do so much better.
Do you think that if you didn't have that, you'd still be doing drugs to this day? Like, it's almost like you needed that.
I don't know, man. It's just, man, comes a time you just get sick and tired, man, of being sick and tired. And you know, that life, that's all it does, is wears you down, man.
How do you feel about the people that don't make it to that reality, to that point?
I hate it for them, man. Hopefully they'll get to that gift of desperation like I did.
Do you reflect back on how many years of your life you've spent, you know, in prison or battling addiction?
I do.
Yeah.
And you know, I'm just grateful, man, that I'm home, doing good, and just living a better life, man. It's so much better.
Yeah, tell everyone what you're doing now, you know, like with at the recovery center, and how you're using like your past experience to help others, because that's huge.
Yeah, so I'm a peer support specialist at Lake Cumberland Recovery. I can't praise them people enough, man. They helped save my life, man, for real. Now I'm giving back, trying to help other people.
And tell people what a peer recovery specialist is, because I think it's great.
So what I do, I just, I share my experience with other people, man, and let them know, that you can get better, man, and life can get better, and people care about you. You are worth it.
And you just got to keep chugging along. And,
Keep chugging along, man. Keep showing up.
Do you feel like these individuals relate to you better because you've been in their shoes?
I do. And I think I connect with a lot of the guys there, man. And I think that they, see that it is possible, that you can change.
That's huge.
And life can be better. I'm happier now than I've ever been in my life, man.
What are some goals you want to accomplish with this newfound life?
I just want to keep helping people, man, and just keep moving forward, man, and just rebuild the relationships with the people that I've heard over the years, and just try to do better.
If you can go back to your teenage self, what advice do you give him before you ever even picked up a drug? What would you say?
Man, wake up, man. You can do so much better. You really can. You could have been anything you wanted.
And you still can. It's not too late.
It ain't too late.
It ain't too late. It's never too late.
It's never too late.
You just got to keep pushing.
Keep showing up, man.
Well, Danny, thank you so much, man. I'm
right.
glad we got to do this. I know you were excited about it. I was excited about it.
Thank you,
You
man.
definitely lived up to the hype.
Thank you.
You did really well, but we're going to have to check those papers.
Thanks a lot,
Thank
man.
you, Danny. And, I'll keep coming back to Kentucky and seeing you
right,
guys.
man.
You guys are
Good
awesome
deal.
here.
Had a good time.